Arizona State is knocking the Pac-12 down one team at a time, one weekend at a time. They're completely dominating right now, and we're going to dive all into that and more on today's episode of Locked On Pac-12 podcast.
You are Locked On Pac-12, your daily podcast on the Pac-12 Conference. It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Pac-12 podcast. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. We are available on all platforms for free. That's the best part. Today's episode is brought to you by rockauto.com. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, everything your car will ever need, rockauto.com. Today, I'm your host, Cindy Robinson of Locked On Pac-12, former Pac-12 student athlete, and I guess Pac-12 expert, they like to say. And today joining me is Richie Bradshaw from Locked On Sun Devils. Richie, you know, he's been waiting all weekend, I'll say, to come on the show and talk about his Sun Devils. He had one heck of a weekend. We were conversing via Twitter all weekend. First and foremost, Richie, tell me, how did you feel seeing your Sun Devils play as well as they did this weekend?
Well, you always love seeing a win, so that's a good start. But to see Arizona State play the complete game that they did, both on offense, on defense, special teams was good. They limited the penalties for the most part. Obviously, that's still something that they have to work on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
But overall, the team executed terrifically. And I was a little nervous because Stanford in recent years has kind of had our number, and they always play us tough. But for the most part, I mean, we came out and did what we needed to do. 28-10 score obviously looks pretty good. And honestly, it didn't feel like it was even that close. I know that's an 18-point lead. That's three possessions, but it felt a lot stronger than that win. So I'm feeling pretty confident moving forward.
Yeah, let's talk about that game overall. I mean, more so in depth and just things that stood out to you. I will say I did think it was going to be a closer game than that, especially with how it started. Stanford wasn't necessarily just giving it to you, but then by halftime, I was like, okay, this game may not be as competitive as we think it was supposed to be. Going into the game, we talked about how important this matchup would be for ASU and for Stanford in a sense. It was it's gonna be another week of deciding how the standings may be in the Pac-12. For you,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. You got it.
Oh, I was just going to dive right into it. So go ahead and finish your thoughts.
Dive in. We're here.
If you say so. So this definitely was a big game for the standings. It was important for the North because the North is a big old jumbled mess right now. But it was important for ASU to get this win because it continues their streak of being 3-0 in the Pac-12 conference right now. That's really, really comforting moving forward. And you're slowly building yourself a lead over the UCLAs and the USCs and the Utahs of the Pac-12 South, who are going to try and take down Arizona State for the Pac-12 South division title. But Arizona State is firing on all cylinders right now. They're showing that they're as complete a team as the Pac-12 has to offer. And this win over Stanford really just kind of put an emphasis and an exclamation point on that claim.
It's very clear at this point, like you said, that ASU is probably the most dominant team in the Pac-12. Clearly the most consistent, in my opinion. They week in and week out, they've been getting those wins. They are not the only team left in conference with an undefeated conference record right now. Utah is the other team. But I still think ASU has a bit of an edge on Utah. Now, we'll talk later about the matchup coming up this weekend against Utah, because I feel like that's going to be another spicy one for ASU. But playing at home in the atmosphere against Stanford, what do you think that ASU did really well in that matchup and that they should carry on throughout the season?
Well, the defense played hot. They played consistently and they played ferociously. They were able to get to McKee 5 different times, and they intercepted Tanner McKee not once, not twice, but 3 times. McKee came into the game without any interceptions, as you and I'm sure the rest of the Pac-12 fans that listen to this podcast knows. He
Yes.
was as efficient a quarterback in the Pac-12 as they come, and he did admittedly throw for a few yards, 356.
Yeah.
And he did throw a touchdown to Elijah Higgins.
Oh,
Elijah
the
Higgins.
big one. Yeah, Higgins. There you
Yes.
go. Yeah.
Yes, he threw a touchdown to Higgins, and it kind of felt bad at the time, but then you pick him off 3 different times, including
Yes.
that unbelievable Jack Jones pick where he pitches the
toss.
ball back. Yes. And DeAndre Pierce house sits that. Yeah, that was a great play. But
I was
the
gonna say we
defense
have
looked
to
good.
talk. I was gonna say we have to talk about that play because I do think it was very clear that the defense took over this game and was probably the. I would say the offense did well too because they obviously scored 21 points because they did get that pick 6. But I just want to say, like, how do you feel that defense made a difference in this game more than the offense? Because a lot of times we'll see, if you can score, that's great, but the defense wins games. That's always the statement in anything in sports. Everyone knows that. And so it was very clear that ASU's defense, in my opinion, was the difference maker in this matchup.
Yeah, so the biggest aspect of this for the defense was that they set the tone early and they didn't let their foot off the gas. So when your pass rush is consistently getting home, again, they brought McKee down 5 different times, 2 of them by Tyler Johnson. And Tyler Johnson ended up winning Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week for his efforts. He was absolutely unstoppable off the edge. But when you're consistently bringing home the pressure that Arizona State was making, it's going to rattle the quarterback and cause turnovers. And wouldn't you know it, ASU picks him off 3 times. And what that ends up doing is it gives Arizona State more chances on offense to try and put points up on the board and allows the defense to get a little bit of extra rest, especially with an offense that runs the ball as well as Arizona State does. They can put the chew clock on if they're playing Madden. Let that bad boy tick down to 7, 6, 5 seconds before you hike the play. Just completely take the air out of the ball. Nice sustained long drives. Your defense is rested. They come back out and they're even more angry than they were before. They're, again, ferocious. I think that's the perfect description for the defense. And that ended up being the big difference.
Okay. Well, coming up next, we're going to discuss how the weekend overall impacted the Pac-12, and then we will give you that ASU versus Utah preview. For all my college football fanatics, I have to let you know about PrizePicks. It is daily fantasy made easy. PrizePicks is a leader in college sports daily fantasy. They offer more college football props than anyone in the world and offers all the star players of the Power 5 as well as mid-major players that you may have never even heard of. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from yardage to touchdowns, even interceptions thrown. All of the users that deposit and use the promo code Locked On will receive 100% instant deposit matchup to $100. That's $100, guys. Like, come on, can't get no better than that. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over/under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. It's just you versus the projected numbers. PrizePicks allows mixed sports entries, which is probably the coolest part about this app. You could take the over on LeBron and the under on Mahomes in the same entry. That's kind of unheard of in most places. So use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's literally that easy. And then PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. So don't hesitate. Check out PrizePicks.com and use that promo code Locked On. Head to the App Store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Now, if I'm going to help you make some money, I got to help you save some money. And the best way to do that is to cut corners where you need to, where you can, wherever you can. It seems like your car will always start messing up, right? When you feel like, you don't have any issues going on, here comes an issue with your car. So rockauto.com wants to help you save money when it comes to auto parts. You save time and money, actually, when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low for every customer. And, excuse me, I was holding that in. Woo! Okay. Sorry. They have everything you can need, from brake parts to tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. So go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto parts needs. Head to rockauto.com, check it out, see what they have for your car, what you could, take advantage of there, and then write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us section so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need, rockauto.com. I'm so sorry about that for the listeners. I, had a little cough attack right now, having a random, I don't have COVID. I did get checked. I don't have COVID. It's just a random cough. I feel like it's the change of the seasons, the allergies, all that stuff. But back to football. This weekend in Pac-12 sports was pretty crazy. Another indication of why people think the Pac-12 is chaotic and, I hate to say it, but a joke. I don't necessarily think it's a joke. I just think we're very competitive here, and we definitely embody that statement any given Saturday. I say Saturday because it's college football. For you, Richie, it's very clear that, like I mentioned, ASU is at this point probably one of the most dominant teams in the Pac-12. The opponent that they'll be facing this weekend in Utah is the only other team that has an undefeated record in the Pac-12 conference right now, as far as the conference play goes. With beating Stanford, like Stanford had been number one on our rankings last week that I do with Brian, and ASU was number two. So now obviously ASU is going to jump to number one this week for us. But when it comes to how the Pac-12 is moving right now, do you feel like this is an actual good place for ASU in a sense of it feels good, or it's everybody's kind of all over the place, so it's not as strong of a position where they're at, if that makes sense? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. So ASU has really put themselves in a great position to continue moving forward in the Pac-12 South and the Pac-12 conference as a whole. They're 3-0 in the conference, 2-0 in the South, and they have the potential to I don't think they'll win out. I think they're going to have a hiccup somewhere.
Okay.
Honestly, probably Corvallis when they go to Oregon State, because for whatever reason, we can't beat them in Corvallis.
I was going to say, Connor and I were talking about that. And I will say, I think that Oregon State, although they did go to Pullman and, take an L, I still think they're a good team. I still think they're one of the probably more dominant teams in the North. That hiccup against Washington State will come back and bite them later on. But besides Oregon had a bye last week. So we're in a situation of seeing how they come back. They're going to play Cal. I kind of feel like that's a give-me game. If they lose to Cal, then I really have no hope for the North. I'll be honest with you. Cal lost to Washington State at home. So I do think a team like Oregon Ducks are going to run Cal Bears and get back on track. But there's going to be that competition between Oregon State, that rival game. Oregon State's going to show up. So I do think they are a team that you should be worried about at ASU, but you have time before you go see them. So leading up to that, I'm looking at the Pac-12 in a whole picture right now. And I don't know, besides ASU, any team that you can say is just really as consistent or a clear favorite in this sense. And a team where you can be like, I'm really concerned about playing them, as the week comes up.
I would agree with you. So USC continues to be inconsistent. They're the ultimate Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of the Pac-12. Oregon will have to see. They just lost CJ Verdell. That's a huge, huge loss, because I would tell you, short of Kayvon Thibodeau, I thought Verdell was probably their most explosive weapon offensively and defensively. Oregon State, I think it's just one uncharacteristic loss to Washington State, but they did get exposed a little bit.
They did. We already knew that their main bread and butter was their run game. And I did talk about this a little bit with Brian last week and Michael Luke. I think if Washington State found a way to shut down the run game, they could potentially get a win. And somehow they figured it out. The pass game needs help. It's Chance Nolan. He needs more reps. I don't know what it is, but I feel like that's a situation where they've just been relying on that run game very heavily. And they've been dominating with it. We're not going to shine away from that, but it's clear that if, you can shut that down, you kind of figured out, how to defeat them.
Yeah, definitely. So the blueprint has been laid down to take down Oregon State. There's not a lot of confidence in either of the Washington teams to make a push. Cal at this point is kind of an afterthought. Oregon, we'll see. Oregon State has its warts, and Stanford just got beat by Arizona State. We look at the South again, like we mentioned. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde is USC. UCLA is a good team, but Arizona State has the tiebreaker there. We'll see with the Utes. I am very intrigued to see. I've done a little bit of research heading into this week, and their run game seems to be pretty strong as well. And they got a mobile quarterback that can help put up the numbers as well. Their defense, per usual, is pretty solid. U of A.
Like I'm gonna stop you. U of A. Oh, I knew you were gonna do that. Okay, yeah, it's rough for them. I had hope, because here's the thing: when you see them play, it's not a complete there's nothing there that they're not working with anything. I saw the game against UCLA. I for a minute thought oh shoot, they may actually be able to do something, and then it's like they can't finish. They get going and they're competitive and they're in the mix, but they cannot actually capitalize and finish a game. I'm going to talk a little more with Michael Luke tomorrow about that. And Michael has no hope in his team this season. He made that very clear from the beginning. And I know that's not a team that you guys are too concerned about. Even with the rivalry aspect there, it's not a team that you're worried about.
No, not at all. So I don't expect another 70-7, but I do expect another pretty convincing win, especially with them coming to Tempe this year.
Okay. All right. Well, coming up next, I'm going to say Brian, Richie and I are going to dive into this Utah and ASU matchup. A lot on the line with this one. Could be a little difference maker when it comes down to, those final standings for ASU and Utah, honestly. So we're going to dive into that next. But before we get into that, for those of you that may have struggles with sweating or just excessive sweating, I guess, being nervous. We're in colder months now, so it's not the sun issue, but more so you still get anxious in situations or whatever. There's a product out there by SweatBlock. They have different products. One in particular, the SweatBlock wipes, works really well. They are stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply it at night before bedtime. You go to bed, and the next morning you wake up and wash and go about your day without worrying about the sweat. Still use deodorant. I definitely highly recommend that. Don't change anything in that capacity. But this product will help you not stain your clothes, keep you from a little embarrassment if that's an embarrassing factor, and not have you stressed about, sweating in random moments. So the best part about it is it's doctor created, doctor recommended. It works for up to 7 days per use. It's dry shirt guarantee. So if SweatBlock doesn't keep you dry, you get your money back. And I don't think it gets any better than that. So if you or someone you love is dealing with this issue, you can go ahead and check out SweatBlock. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com with the promo code LOCKEDON or go to Amazon and CVS. So I would not steer you wrong. Definitely go ahead and check out SweatBlock. And then we are back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. Okay, Richie, so now we're going to dive into this preview about Utah versus ASU, and I want you to help me convince the world why they should bet on ASU against Utah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Again, Utah is a very tough place to play, and over the last 10 or so years, Utah has given ASU fits. They always play us tough. It just kind of is what it is. And even though ASU appears to be head and shoulders above the rest of the Pac-12 South, I will not count the Utes out until I actually see us play. So Jaden Daniels has to play a near flawless game. He's not turning the ball over too much, which is good, but he's also not throwing touchdowns. He's only got 4 touchdown passes, and all of those have come in 2 games. So I want to see him be more consistent through the air, but that ground game is just disgustingly good. And I don't think Utah is going to have an answer for it. Rachaad White isn't going to have the touches to justify a Heisman kind of run, but he's got 10 touchdowns in 6 games this year. He's scored in every single game. He is leading the team in rushing yards, and if he's not leading the team in receiving yards, he's number 2. He's doing everything and anything and everything that the Sun Devils ask of him. He's going to be one of the biggest keys for this game, and I have a feeling that, like the rest of teams that have played Arizona State this year, Utah's not going to have an answer for them. And then, of course, that defense is just sick nasty.
Yeah, they're playing crazy right now.
Yes.
Okay, here's the thing, though. I'm going to just lay this out. You're playing at Utah, so that's one tough thing. And, right now, change of weather, it's going to be a little different than Tempe weather. And I don't know for sure how ASU is going to deal with that. On top of that, there's a little different situation with Utah right now. They are coming off losing a teammate of theirs. And
yes,
that's
very, very sad.
Yeah, second teammate in 10 months. And so at this point, their motivation and, what they're inspired by is a little different. And I think it showed in that game against USC. They went into the Coliseum and won for the first time in over 100 years. Like, the energy that they came with. Granted, USC is having their struggles right now, so I'm not saying that they're the exact you can compare them to ASU, but I'm just painting the picture of like what you're dealing with right now. They came in there and kind of destroyed some egos for sure. I wonder if traveling to Utah and playing there with the emotions high, that's gonna be their first home game back since the death of their teammate. And the crowd's gonna be there cheering them on. Do you feel like that's gonna impact your Sun Devils?
100%. Those guys already had a great home field advantage, but now you've brought emotion into it. You've brought even more passion for this football team than you had before. These guys have something to play for besides just winning this game. They want to honor their former teammate, and they want to make him happier wherever he's at right now. And we know that he's definitely looking down and watching this team. And I mean, there's certain things that I can't really explain it. And I know a lot of people can't do it either, but there's something about having an extra amount of
fight.
Yes. Yeah. No, they've got extra fight to them, and they've got even more to win for. It's not just about the game anymore. They want to honor their former teammate, and that's something that you can't discount. And we'll see. I mean,
yeah.
But honestly, between me and you and everyone listening to this podcast, I guess, if Arizona State had to drop another game this year, I would not mind at all if it was Utah, because it would be very special for them.
I mean, okay, yes, I'm here for the sentimental side of things, right? I do want them to play their hardest and whatever. But if ASU falls to Utah, doesn't that mess with their standings in the South?
It does. So Utah at that point, they would be 4-3 or 5-2, and ASU would drop to 5-2, and that would give Utah the head-to-head advantage.
Okay.
So from there, ASU would have to have the better conference record against Utah. So it would be a really bad loss for ASU's future in the Pac-12. Right. There's so much sentimental stuff for me that goes into a win like that I wouldn't be heartbroken. I'd be upset because of, obviously, I want my team to do good.
Title. I would say it could cost you the title, because they're both the two teams, like I said, still with undefeated Pac-12 records, and they're both in the South. And
Yeah.
only one can come out the South.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't want us to lose. I
But
want
you
us to
would
go in there and win.
I
But
get it,
yeah,
but you would
exactly.
understand.
I would
Yeah.
understand, and I wouldn't be furious the way I would be if U of A beat us.
Yeah. It gets tricky, it does, because these are moments where you realize this is beyond football, right? And this is something Brian and I have been talking about since the situation happened. You can't, it's hard as an opponent to like solely be like, okay, we're coming in to beat you, when it's like, as a human, you want to have a heart for what they've just dealt with. But that does not mean just give away the game. So it will be interesting to see how they play. Like I said, this will be their first home game since the incident happened. I will say emotions will be high, so prayers out to them dealing with that. Prayers to ASU for going in and being the team that has to face them in this situation. And yeah, I'm wishing you guys luck, Richie, because I do like seeing ASU play. They're a very exciting team right now, probably one of the most exciting teams in the Pac-12. We got to work on this. Pac-12 has to like pick it up some. There's got to be some more energy levels in these games, some more excitement. I am all for the underdog wins, though. I always say that. I love to see things shake up. I was so happy for my Cougs, but we definitely need to get some more consistency and some more respect from the rest of these conferences.
Yeah, they got to stop beating each other up. They do such a good job of making each other look stupid sometimes.
Right.
And then the rest of the country is looking at us like, "Oh my god, these guys just don't have one winner." And it's like, "You don't understand. You're not watching because Pac-12 After Dark."
Right. And
So
that's
we
it.
love it as fans because it's like almost like a any given Saturday kind of thing. But the
Yes.
rest of the country looks and they're like, "Well, this is why the Pac-12 is bad." No, it's
Yeah.
not bad. It's just exciting.
It's exciting and competitive. That's how I see it. Like,
Yes.
no one should ever go into it and be like, yeah, this is just going to be a guaranteed win. Like, we're not doing that over here. It's the Conference of Champions because every team is competitive, even when you think they're not. So that's what we're working with. Thank you for joining me today, Richie. For those of you who want to keep up with everything Sun Devils, make sure you guys check out Locked On Sun Devils podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. Same thing with the Locked On Pac-12 podcast. And then make sure you follow along on Twitter. Richie and Connor are very active on that Locked On Sun Devils Twitter, which is LO_Sun Devils. And then check me out on Locked On Pac-12 Twitter, LO_Pac-12. This weekend we were going back and forth, mixing a little bit, talking all college football and keeping up with all the Pac-12 games. So we're going to continue that going for the rest of the season, making sure we're keeping you all up to date on everything you need to know. You can follow Richie Bradshaw at Richie Brads with a Z 36 on Twitter. And then you can follow me at _Cindy Robinson. Other than that, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. This is available on all platforms and it is free, the best part about everything. And then make your second listen of the day one of the other conference shows. There's Locked On SEC, Locked On ACC, and Locked On Big 12, free on all platforms, available for your enjoyment. You can check out what's going on in those other conferences and keeping up with the college football world completely. Other than that, make sure you stay locked on Pac-12 on the Locked On Network.